Actually got a little dizzy doing that. Welcome back, everybody. It has been a while here at my house and at your house too, I'm sure. Welcome back to the Accidental Aquarist. I've settled in on that name for myself and the channel. I really like it. And a lot has gone on in the several weeks since I have actively recorded or posted a bunch of anything fish related. I got this art. Huh? Look at that. I have bought an art. I like the colors. I thought it would look good. It's a nice big piece. I thought it would look really neat over the aquarium. And speaking of aquariums, it is Aquarium Day. A lot going on in the tanks. Some stuff that you've probably seen a little bit of, or actually, now that I think about it, I probably haven't actually uploaded any of the videos. But I have taken to doing some live native fish catching or trapping. And what that has done and has netted, pun intended, a bunch of different little fish. I'll show you some of them here in the Tetra Swamp. We've got a whole bunch of these little guys here. These are guppies. Oh, except for that guy. These little guys here, you can see them. They're a cichlid. They're right here. Here we go. They're Rio Grande cichlids. Pardon me. These little guys and these guppies are all small fish, and the tanks are dirty. They are getting cleaned today. But they're all small fish that the Texas Department of Wildlife puts in bodies of water to eat mosquitoes. So some people call them mosquito fish. A lot of people do. The fact is, these are actually just small, plain, not very fancy at all, guppies. The little Rio Grande cichlids are also a native Texas fish. And I don't know if they were placed in this particular small body of water here in San Antonio, or on the outskirts of San Antonio, or really how they got there. But a lot of those little fish came from there, and some of them actually are in my 60-gallon tank here. These guys got a little bit of a reflection, but you can see some of those guys in there, and a bluegill or two. Of course, the goldfish are still doing great. And they seem to not mind sharing that big aquarium very much at all, so that's a good thing. But those Rio Grande cichlids are really cool little fish. The nice thing about them is, since they are native fish, I don't want to put them in here with the African cichlids because I don't know what kind of compatibility I'm going to run into, although these cichlids look really neat when they're mature. The front half of them is kind of silvery and looks a little bit like, almost like a bluegill, which is kind of interesting. And the back half of them gets very defined stripes, kind of like the African cichlids do, these darker guys here. And that's really kind of neat. Plus they have that really pronounced spot right on the median line on their body. And I hope I'm saying that right. I hope that's the right word. But they're really neat fish. They're all over the place. And a very cool thing is, if I decide that I don't want to keep these fish in this tank, I can take them back to the body of water that I got them from, because that's where they were born. That's where they were brooded or hatched or laid. I don't know. That's where they came from. So I can take them back and they won't be invasive. So that's kind of a fun thing. But they also look great in the tanks, and that's just something that I've been doing lately. Having a lot of fun with it. And really the whole point behind mentioning that is that you have to do different things to keep your hobby interesting and exciting. One of the things that I've been looking at doing is going through the tanks that I have set up right now, especially the 125-gallon African cichlid tank. And I'm considering redoing that tank. I think what I want to do, and everything's a mess right now. I've got a couple of the covers off. I want to replace the covers. Something else I would like to do is I want to kind of change up the way this is set. I need to clean up where I keep my fish food. But these guys have clearly defined territories. We've got the pile of rock over here where Slim the giant Plecostomus lives. And then all these guys have plenty of hiding places. They've got the branches. They've got some plants, which I didn't think were actually going to last very long in there, and they really are. So that tank just needs kind of a remodel. These hang-on back filters are really awesome because on this one, this is a 60-gallon lowboy aquarium. I really like this aquarium. I like that it's sitting this low, and because I can walk up to my fish, I can look at my fish from the top, I can look at them from the side, I can keep it filled with a little more water. That would be good. But as you can see here, you do get a little bit of splash. And even though my floor is rated 24 hours moisture resistance, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see some of the little speckles from where the water is splashed in there. That's on me. I need to build a little guard here, or I need to put a screen over it to keep that splash down. I'll probably do that today. But for now, let's check this. Oh man, see, look at that. That filter floss is nice and gross. Nice and gross. But that means it's working. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out and gonna make that better. What's interesting is it's really only the filter floss close to the inlet where it comes in to the filter. Obviously, that's the part that hits it first, so that's the part that gets gross. But yeah, that's actually pretty bad. And all I really want to do is have some fun. Sorry. All I want to do is squeeze out the junk that's in here, the really nasty stuff, the big particles. And then once that's done, I can just put this right back. All right. It's going to get some particles back in the water. The fish will check it out. They might eat some of it. And then it'll cycle itself back out. As soon as I do the water change and fill it back up again, it won't even be a problem. All I want to do is have a little fun before I die, said the man next to me out of nowhere. Apropos of nothing. Says his name is William, but I'm sure it's Bill or Billy or Mac or Buddy. Probably got those words wrong. It's okay. All I want to do is have some fun. I got a feeling I'm not the only one. All I want to do is have some fun. It's been a while since I've heard that song. Oh, it's pretty funny. Story time. I should do this as a segment. Way back before I got into doing what I'm doing now, I used to have a remodeling business. And I got a call one time. Person left a voicemail message on my phone, and or my voicemail, and said, "Hey, I need you to come do some work on my house. This is Sheryl Crow." And I was like, "Excuse me?" So I'm listening to this message, and I'm listening to this woman. And she's describing what she needs done to her house, and she's asking me to give her a call back, that she got my number from somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, that kind of thing. And this was the kind of work that I did. So it just blew my mind, and I was like, I have got a phone call from Sheryl Crow. And so now I have to call Sheryl Crow back and see what she needs done on her house. The weird part about that is, at the time I lived in Springfield, Missouri, and the last time I checked, Sheryl Crow, the musician, did not. I don't want to out anybody because this was not the musician Sheryl Crow. Although this Sheryl Crow was a very nice person with a lovely house, and I was happy to do some work for her, but it made for a great story. Or it made for a fun story. Maybe it wasn't that great. That's one of the side effects, or I don't know. Is it a side effect or is it a bonus for having done so many different things? You end up with a lot of weird stories. I don't know. Maybe 100 bad days makes 100 good stories. And 100 good stories makes you interesting at parties. I don't know if story time is going to be a good idea or not. I've been in positions where a lot of weird stuff has gone on around me, and I've just kind of had to deal with it. I'm not somebody that has claimed to have met a bunch of celebrities or anything like that, and honestly, I think most people really don't care that much about meeting celebrities. Or at least people that already have stuff going on in their own. I just hit myself in the face. Wow. People that have enough things going on in their own life, the last thing they really need or want to do is make a big deal out of something like that. I don't know. But I'm trying this shot here. I have no idea if this is going to work. I'm just trying to clean the tanks. I'm trying to record some of it because I haven't made a video in a while and I kind of want to. So I'm hoping some of this footage is usable. And I'm also kind of curious to see if the camera shakes while I'm doing this, because I've got 60 gallons of water sitting on this table that I made or pieced together out of bookcases, which are not even bookcases, they're bedside tables. So really this is kind of a video quality, sound quality check, which I'm going to pause here in a moment and check, because this is probably also not a very flattering camera angle. Okay, I was actually pretty happy with the way that looked. If I'm missing something, let me know. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this video and these videos, and I have this channel experiment, really, is because this is my hobby. This is what I like to do. I like aquariums. I like stocking them with fish. I like looking at the fish. I like tinkering with the setup. I like feeding the fish. I like learning as much as I can about aquariums and the aquarium hobby and how to make it interesting to me, and thinking that maybe I can share some of that with you. And I realize that most of these videos kind of turn into a little bit of a vlog format where I'm really just talking about whatever. And to me, that's one of the things that's interesting about YouTube in general, and these different hobbies that people choose to put out there, that we all do something. Whether it's a hobby, a job, or just an activity that we engage ourselves in, even if it's just reading. You know, you like to read. I like to read. You know, reading is awesome. Is one of the coolest things about your brain and your imagination is you can do things like this, and you can take stuff that's in your head and convert it into this, and you can look at it and you can enjoy it. And then other people can look at it and enjoy it. And a lot of the information that's in books that people read and that they fill their imagination and their mind with, it makes us each neat and individual and interesting. And I don't know. That's why I just do these kind of rambling style videos, because I don't obviously write a script for these things. And I know there's some people that do that. They have to follow a script. I probably should. But I just enjoy doing this, talking about it, like you're here. And, you know, hopefully if you were here, you wouldn't excuse yourself because you have to go floss your cat or whatever. If that's the case, I guess you would just go floss your cat and not tell me about it. But anyway, the tanks are getting clean. The scraper is working really well. And the nice thing is, because some of these tanks, they're not heavily planted. In fact, none of them are except for that one. There really isn't a lot of biofilm on the glass. And that's really interesting to me. I guess I expected more. No, just an observation. This tank's, even though it's kind of green because of the tannins in the water, I didn't think the Mopani wood would do that. That's kind of surprising. I expected there to be more stuff on the glass, and it just isn't. Alright, now it's drain tanks time. I need to do water changes. I got most of this stuff scraped. I still need to do these two, actually. But I think I'm going to use the sponge for that. But I wanted to show you this thing. This is a piece of fun noodle. And what I did was I just cut this to fit in this window. I didn't just do it, but I cut this to fit in that window. I cut a slit down this side so that it fits over the bottom sill of the window. It just kind of snaps in place. And then I cut this little channel so that I could run one of these tubes that I use to drain the tanks through. And the awesome thing about this is, regardless of the weather, I can run the hose out there to drain the tanks, and I don't have bugs coming in. I don't let all the air conditioning out or let all the heat out or whatever. And it just goes in this window. Place. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. You probably can figure it out. Got my little mess over here, but yeah, it just goes right there. It's my messy backyard. All right. I can put the more rigid section of my siphon hose out the window. All right. I can try to. There we go. This light sitting over here, it's a little ungainly, a little ugly, but it's sitting there because the monstera on the top of the tetra swamp, I've decided that I'm going to just take that light off of it and let that kind of grow wild and go crazy. But the downside to that is it's on the timer. I like it there, or I need to figure out some other way to do that. I may have to end up hanging it from the ceiling. And because my ceiling isn't flat, you may have noticed, kind of have to figure that part out. I haven't really decided how I'm going to make that happen yet. All right, I'm going to drain a little bit more water out of the 60. And then get started draining these other tanks. And get back to, that's not it. Get back to scraping. You're good. You're good. All right. These things are pretty awesome. This one's from Top Fin. I bought this when I bought my 65-gallon aquarium. It's just one of those accessories. I thought, you know, I've seen the guys on YouTube channels use this stuff. Downside to this particular magnetic float scraper is that on big tanks like this 125, the glass is so thick that you really have to kind of move slow with the scraper, because if you try to go with any kind of speed, these two halves will separate from one another. And the spongy part, or this is actually a piece of just a bracelet pad. This part will just sink into the tank, and now you got to go fishing for it. Again, pun intended. But other than that, these things are super handy. They're great for cleaning these other tanks, especially if you miss a spot with the scraper. And what I kind of hate is the water here in San Antonio is very hard water. All of our water comes out of an aquifer, and the aquifer water comes out of limestone, so you end up with very hard water. A lot of lime deposits and that kind of thing to get stuff like this, but a lot of this might actually be from, nope, that's lime, never mind. I was going to say it might be from the salt that I put in the water, because I put a little bit of salt in all the tanks, just to keep it a little bit brackish. It keeps the fish healthier. They seem to like it. Something that I started doing with this aquarium with the cichlids at the very beginning, and they've all done very well with it. But yeah, that's lime. I have a water softener. It gets most of it as far as for showering and doing the dishes and that kind of thing. But when the water just evaporates out of these, you're going to end up with a lime. There's really not a whole lot you can do about it, other than keep your tank filled all the way up here past the black so that you never see the water line. I actually started doing that when I had my tanks when they were new, because I didn't like seeing the water line. But with some of these smaller tanks and the tetras, I started having fish jumping out. So, like, all right, well, I'll keep the water line a little bit. I'll just top it off, keep that cleaned up or scraped up, and I stopped losing fish. Pro tip, amateur tip, whatever. Okay. My siphon for this, I'm really just running this out into the backyard, and so I have a part of my yard that actually gets water. Here we go. There it goes. All right. Now it's working. Go around and do a little bit of cleaning up. This tank, the way this is stocked with all these little cichlids and the big comet goldfish, a really cool thing about that is a lot of fish, especially cichlids and goldfish, they'll kind of pull up the substrate in the sand and sort of sift it, and that's what they do looking for food. So they kind of sift it out a little bit. The gravel in the substrate actually stays really clean. So I really don't have to do any gravel back stuff. But I am going to turn off or unplug that filter because it's going to start splashing. Looks like I got to go back to the store here pretty soon. I put in a little bit of the stress coat. You can use whatever product you want, but if you're adding this much tap water to your tank, probably a good idea to add some of this. Again, even though I do have a filter and a, what do you call that, water softener, there's still going to be stuff in your water that you may not want your fish to be swimming around in. You see, here's the tricky bit. Figuring out where to stop the fill. I know that back here, this last 1.5 inches, which is disappearing quickly because it's actually filling up right now, that's going to be the splash zone. And I'm trying to keep the splashing outside of the tank to a minimum. Now, a minute ago, I was talking about how much I liked hang on the back filters, but something you have to remember, hang on the back filters don't always reprime themselves when the power goes out or when the water goes down. There you go. Sometimes they need a little help. And a fully submerged filter, like an internal filter or a canister filter that has the inlet and the outlet underwater at all times, typically doesn't have to be reprimed to get it started again. That's something to think about. I think most of us that have been in this hobby for a while have burned up at least one hang on the back filter, because either the power went out or something happened, it stuck, it ran dry for whatever reason. And I've certainly had that happen. Thankfully, it was with one of the small tanks, just a little 20-gallon hang-on back filter. Wasn't that big a deal. But one of these big titles, or Aquarium 75s, that's a little bit more of a thing when those burn up. And as further evidence that I've actually lost my mind doing this hobby, I have stickers for my channel. They're upside down. Accidental Aquarist. I don't have a store. I don't have merchandise, but I have stickers. DM me. I'll send you a couple.